Anyone remember what verse we're on? I think we're in our 13th chapter still.
Number 63.
And was it in this class? I can't remember whether we were talking about satyam, about integrity, truthfulness, and its relationship to sankalpa, or was that in another class? Yes, no?
There might be another question.
Okay. Somebody, would you poke it and make the white box go away? Ah, great. Okay. So anyway, thanks to Kali Om, I found a scriptural reference to this. So if you have any desire to know the source of that teaching, if you go to the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and it's in chapter 2, verse 36, where the sutra says, for the person who's practicing satyam, integrity, authenticity, truthfulness, their sankalpa manifests. That's what the sutra says. So it shows us the relationship, and I'm glad to have found that connection. So Ganesh, will you help us out? And again, we're on 36, you said, Mark?
63, I believe.
63. See, I confused rated it.
Nabadita paradinepya anuvritte sthiteti chet swapnasyapi paradine na anuvritti pavavada. If you say that it is not so refuted during the next day, also on account of continuity, tell me, is there not continuity sometimes on the next day, even for a person or thing appearing in a dream? Note, a dream object may be met with during the waking state on the next day, or the dream object may reappear in a dream on the next day.
So the topic under discussion, the author is borrowing from the second chapter of the Mandukya Upanishad that we were looking at this afternoon or this morning. So what Dattatreya is doing here is comparing the waking state to the dream state and showing us all the unassumed or unexamined assumptions that we have, whereby we think the dream state isn't real, but the waking state is real, actually fall apart upon analysis. So we have to understand, first of all, our philosophical definition of reality. Reality with a capital R. What's real is that which is never subject to negation. What do we mean by that? If it seems to be there and then all of a sudden, oh golly, it's gone. It wasn't real. I think there's a snake. On further examination, I find the rope. I have negated the snake. I think there are waters on the desert. On further examination, I see, oh, sure look like water, but it's heat waves off the desert, a mirage. Or the dream seems so vivid when I'm dreaming it. When I wake up, poof, it's gone. Now, our minds are convinced that the waking state can't be negated. Well, the objects in it are stable, they're real, they keep showing up all the time. So for example, from my hip, isn't that the same couch that was there when you were here this morning? There's a continuity. Well, don't we have continuity in a dream? Sometimes something I've seen in the dream shows up in the waking state. Sometimes something in the waking state shows up in the dream. Have you had a dream recently, Mahit?
Yes.
What did you dream about? Unless it's X-rated.
Oh. I think someone was chasing me.
Someone you knew?
No, it was like a scary kind of dream. And I felt as if someone is going to kill me, kind of.
I'm glad they haven't shown up in the waking state.
Nope, not at all.
But have you dreamt about, well, I dreamt that there was this woman in a dream that I used to work with in a music store in 1970. Her name was Virginia. She shows up in my dream. So the woman of the waking state shows up in the dream state. Have you ever had that happen? Yes, no, something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. And sometimes we have recurring dreams. You dream about a situation, and then a few nights later, you go back and the dream, it's still there, the same environment, the same characteristics. Have you ever had that happen? So we can't say for sure that it's just that things continue to appear. That is not necessarily a test of it being real. I've got to take this off because my mustache is getting in my mouth. Are you okay with me taking it off?
Yes.
All right. So the point that Dattatreya is getting at here is that idea of things being occurring and appearing only in the waking state. That's not enough. That's not enough. And they do disappear. What kind of car are you driving now?
Audi.
All right. What kind of car were you driving a decade ago?
Toyota.
Hmm?
A Toyota, I think.
Where did you go?
I don't know.
Not permanent. You see, things are not permanent. All right, next verse.
I want to ask, is this a
Oh,
chapter?
please, go ahead.
Not a question, but like, what chapter are we on?
13.
Chapter 13 and then 63. 64.
Yes, now we're on 64.
Thank you.
Ganesh, help us out.
नानुवृत्तिर्भाति स्वप्ने इति चिन्नृपे इति चेन्द्रपते शृणु जाग्रत्यपि क्वानुवृत्ति भासु न व्यावभासके. King, if you say that continuity of previous objects does not exist in a dream, listen. Where is the appearance of continuity, even in the waking state, when there is the appearance of new things? Note, waking state also consists of a series of differing experiences which may not be continuous or connected.
Yes. And in fact, in truth, there are huge gaps of continuity. So today is what, the 5th or the 6th of August? 5th of August. And the year is 2021. What were you doing on the 5th of August of 2001? Any idea?
No.
Huge gaps. See, the illusion here is you never stop being. And your mind says, I have an exactly continuous memory of experiences. The constant eternal factor is not the world. It is you. The world is always morphing and changing and dissolving, new things arising. But you remain. Next verse.
Navyeno vrithyabhanepi bhatyanyatrepi chechrunu tatha swapnepi bhatyeva anuvritti sthirabhasane. If you say that, though there is non-perception of continuity in the new things in the waking state, it exists somewhere, such as mountains, oceans, etc. Listen. So does it exist in a dream also? So does it exist in a dream also. In the appearance of stable things in a dream, there is continuity amidst the changing contents of the dream. No, in a long dream, the continuity of objects of the dream, such as wife, son, etc., is experienced by all.
So if you have a very vivid dream, you've had a heavy meal, and you go to sleep and you have a very long, vivid dream, your mind creates an unexamined cause and effect past. So, for example, the person who was chasing you, in the dream, you never think, where did that person come and why are they chasing me? There's an unexamined cause and effect that seems very logical and real and unexamined to the dreamer. Isn't that so?
Yeah.
Just like Punit can't come back to the States because of visa and passport, that's cause and effect. But what the Tattva is saying, no more solid, just as fleeting as the dream. Even people. So your dear aunt who passed away, she will become more and more dreamlike in your memory. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Or childhood friends. I'm only talking to him because I can see him better. You're
Okay.
down in the shadow there.
No problem.
Over here, I can see you better. Next one, going on.
Vrishanuvrittiste tatreti che jagratyapi sa tatha sukshma buddhya vimrishattad pastu jagrati samsthitam. If you say that the continuity there in the dream is false, it is so in the waking state also. Reflect on that object existing in the waking state with your subtle intellect.
So nothing in either state is permanent. So let's cut to the chase. What is the idea that the scripture is trying to drive home. In the second chapter of the Mandukya Upanishad with the Gaudapada Karika, I think it's the fourth Karika in the second chapter, Gaudapada says, the phenomenal world is quite unreal. The proof of its unreality is that it is seen. Oh my God. Ordinary mind says seeing is believing. Believe what you see, believe the data, believe the video they took, believe what happens in front of your eyes, and at the empirical level, of course. But what the scripture is saying is, anything knowable, seeable, cognizable is just the play of consciousness. Mahip and I were looking at this word chitta this morning, remember?
Yeah.
The stuff of mind. The Sargadatta Maharaj uses the word Chaitanya for the same thing. States of consciousness, mind stuff. That's what all this is. What is real? Who knows it? Uday was talking about a movie, Paul the Apostle, before class. Well, I'm going to share with you a movie. It's called Inception. Any of you remember seeing it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very Vedantic. They keep going from reality to reality to reality. They don't know which one is a dream and which one is real. Remember that? Well, the only way it falls short of pure Vedanta is it posits that there is a real world that's not a dream. Vedanta says, if you can see it, if you can experience it, it's a dream world. The nature of it, like the movie Inception, it's always changing. Here we are cruising along with Obama as president. Wham! Donald Trump. You know what happened? Then economy going through the roof. Everybody's making money. Everything's great. And all of a sudden, boom, COVID. Beginning in the summer. Vaccines, millions per day. We're going to take off these goddamn masks. We can go out and have dinner again. Boom, Delta. Isn't that what happens?
Yeah.
What happens? That's this world. Somebody call it the Einsteinian world of flux. All right, next verse.
Deha vrikshana didipa adhikam shana vibhed ditam katham tad anuvrittirvai bhavedavi tathatmika. Body, tree, river, lamp, and the like in the waking state are broken or altered in a moment. How indeed can their continuity be having a true nature?
Yes. So if you just examine history, geological history, cosmological history, nothing ever remains the same. There's a chapter in Gita of the divine form where Arjuna says, dude, show me this divine form. And Krishna goes, behold. And the climax of the thing, there's Krishna with a terrible aspect of this enormous mouth devouring suns and moons and people and worlds. He says, I am all devouring time. So any of you devotees of Kali, that's the feminine form of Kala. What's Kala?
Krishna.
Time.
Oh God, that God.
Time. Nothing stays the same. And according to yoga, even the universe in a new Big Bang. So the yogi has to learn constantly, let go, let go, let go. Be in the now, be in the present. If you have one foot in the past and another foot in the future, I'm worried about the past, I fear the future. You're urinating on the present. Next verse.
Achalanapi nahi, achalanamapi nahi, tvitiya kshana sangatam, rupamasti sarvadaiva, nirjharair bhaditatmanam. There is indeed no form which is associated with the second moment, even for immovable mountains, which have their bodies broken or altered by waterfalls or mountain torrents continuously.
So even things like mountains are not permanent. I was talking with a friend that I was visiting Gangotri in 1994. Gangotri is the temple with the headwaters of the Ganges. But guess what? It's not the headwaters anymore. You have to hike a couple miles to Gomukh. Why? Glaciers receded. Another 10 years, there may not even be a glacier. Next verse.
Mushakairupadikabhihi sukarair nirjaradhibihi sarvatastu vividyante parvata sarvadaivahi parvatam buddhimumukhya apyevam shanabhedinaha Mountains are indeed always broken on all sides by rats, ants, hogs, mountain torrents, and the like. Thus, even mountains, oceans, land, and others are breaking every moment.
So again, he's stressing this idea of impermanence. So whether human beings, for example, have been the cause for climate change or not, the reality is the climate is changing. Are we going to have huge deserts? Are the poles going to melt? Some people think after a while the exact opposite will happen. The undersea currents that run like the Gulf Stream and all those are going to stop. And we're going to have ice in the northern and southern hemisphere. We'll only have a small band around the equator that won't be under ice. Who's to say? But what we know for sure, everything changes. Everything. Going on.
Jim, I have a question.
Please.
This question comes up, in different forms, depending on the circumstance, but to take your example of the climate change, so it's an empirical fact that the climate is changing. The more important question is one's individual response to it. Now, I see it as a dream or I see it as something changing. All right. Do I act on it in some way, or do I say that this is inevitable, there's nothing I can do? Similarly, when I'm faced with a lot of, let's say, people beating me up or oppression of some sort, do I respond to it? What do I do to it? So this question comes up. Yes, it's changing, but what does one do in relation?
You act, O Arjuna.
But to what end?
To what end? You act according to your inherent latent proclivities, because you are part of the process. I tell you, Uday, try ceasing activity and see what happens. You're going to be sitting in a pile of poop if you don't act. Isn't that true?
Very much.
Okay. Action, the dharma of the body is karma. So karma is the hand we're dealt in life, climate change. Purushartha is our self-effort. What are we given to do? Or I like to say, yes, this whole world's a dream, but does it have to be a nightmare? And frankly, India, there have been aspects of the culture that have misunderstood that and have confused passivity with surrender.
Right.
Oh, the building's falling apart. God's will. Oh, the baby's sick. God's will. That's fate. The building's falling down. Fix it. The baby's sick. Go to the doctor. And because you see, your upadhis, your equipment, are not outside of God's plan. There's no God out there with a flying fickle finger of fate doing it all. God does not manifest the world at us and to us, but as us and through us. Now, it may be someone else's swadharma to, so Mahipa's here, he's a psychotherapist. He may not be doing much about climate change right now. But if you're a climate scientist, for God's sake, do something. But if you're a climate scientist and they're crazy people in Santa Barbara, there's not a lot you're going to do about it. That's why he's here. Every single entity fulfills its role in the great Leela. So I cannot tell you what to do, Uday. But what you can do is check out your own intuition and you will know.
Right.
Is that useful?
Yes, Jim. Yes, it's something for me to figure out. Thank you.
No, yoga never teaches passivity and inactivity. Never teaches that. There's a whole chapter in Gita. What is action in the midst of actionlessness? What is actionlessness in the midst of action? Very important chapter. Excellent question. Excellent question. All right, next verse.
Athate sampravakshami pasya sukshma dhyan nrupa paricchinnanuvrittirhi samaiva swapna jagratoh aparachinna nuvrittihi karyeshvatyanta durlabha. King, now I shall tell you the truth. Proceed with your subtle intellect. Limited continuity is indeed quite similar for objects of the dream and the waking state. Unlimited continuity is extremely difficult to be found among things or effects resulting from a cause.
So here he says, examine with a subtle intellect this whole idea of continuity of cause and effect. And if you really examine it, you'll see you can't find a fundamental difference. In the second chapter of Mandukya, well, the first chapter, the scripture says, Om is divided into Chatushpada, four quarters, Ma, and silence. Stands for the waking state, U for the dream state, Ma for the deep sleep state. Silence for the Turiya, the fourth, the consciousness in which those three states arise and revolve. Second chapter says, well, actually, we don't really have three, we have two. We have dream and we have deep sleep. We have in the dream, daytime dream, and nighttime dream. It thunders all perceivable phenomena, gross and subtle, is nothing but pratibimba. Reflections are like images in a mirror. It's all they are. Enjoy. It's pretty, but it's not real. Next verse.
Anuvrittih karanena rupena hi sarvada iti chet karanam rupam prithivyaadimayam kila tachanuvrittam swapnepi prithivyaderhi bhasanat. If it is stated that continuity always surely exists in the form of the cause in the waking state, then the natural state that is the cause, example soft earth in the case of a pot, indeed consists of earth and the like, and that continuity occurs even in a dream because of the appearance of earth and the like in a dream.
So here he's saying what appears as cause and effect, that the pot is made from mud. We have the same appearance of cause and effect in the dream state. And to the dreamer, it seems real. You've all heard me use the example. I have flying dreams, and I think, We have a psychotherapist here, a psychologist, she'll have a heyday with that. But because I'm an old pedagogue, an old teacher, of course, I teach flying in my dreams. So I had this vivid dream. Sounds just like Jim, doesn't it? Flying is controlled falling. It's all in the breath. We just levitated in the dream. Very cool. But there was cause and effect in the dream. If you just breathed a certain way, you'd levitate. Now, from the viewpoint of the waker, oh, that's just silliness. That's a dream, imagination. But what the scripture is saying, we have cause and effect in this world, and we use it. If I flip the light switch, the light goes on. If you start the car runs. If you use the ATM, money comes out of the bank machine. At the level of what we call vyavahara, transactions, doing business in the material world. Of course, there's cause and effect that we use. But from the viewpoint of the absolute, that too is just imagination. Now listen very carefully. All religions have evidence of great Mahatmas, great masters, who seemingly defy our material laws. Probably in the movie, Paul the Apostle, did they talk about the miracles that were worked, Uday?
Well, they they don't talk about that. They talk about him receiving a vision of Christ when he's in the desert.
Yes, on the road to Damascus. But Jesus
Right.
did all these miraculous healings. But Satya Sai Baba has been known to do all these healings. You have your friends who have the Murti of Shirdi Sai Baba.
Yes.
That has vibhuti come out of it. And they do psychic surgery in the Philippines. And people go to Lourdes and get healed. These things happen all over the world in all religions. Are they miracles? A miracle is simply something phenomenal that we cannot explain by our present understanding. That's all it is. And these Mahatmas are using metaphysical laws, not just physical laws. What is the metaphysical law that they're using? Any sankalpa consistently maintained that's not contradicted or conflicted tends towards grossification or manifestation. The whole story about the world in the hill. Now, to some degree, you and I are using this law all the time. You set an intention and you work toward it. Your sankalpa is made manifest. But we do. And if you know this law, and you can have the mental discipline not to get caught up in conflicted intention, contradicted intention. Oh, yes, I want to be a doctor, but it'll never happen for me. Much harder. The little train that could, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. It's great metaphysics. Why does this work? Because the whole phenomenal world is nothing but vibration held together by thought. And you don't have to run around being willful. The best of all sankalpas is, thy will be done. Take it easy, man. I don't want to get off on that tangent. Next verse.
अथस्वप्नस्य बाधो हि जाग्रति ह्यनुभूयते न जागरस्य बाधस्तु भासते कस्यचित् क्वचित् इति चेत् शृणु वक्ष्यामि बाधो ह्यनवभासनं सुषुप्तौ सर्वजगतो अप्युनुभूतं ह्यभासनम्. Then, if it is said that the refutation of a dream object is surely experienced in waking, but the refutation of the waking state does not become evident to anybody anywhere, listen to what I shall say. Refutation is indeed non-appearance. In deep sleep, the non-appearance of the entire world is indeed experienced.
So in sushupta, deep sleep, the waking state is negated for me. So in the dream state, the waking state is negated. In the waking state, the dream state is negated. In deep sleep, they both are negated. Now, we're invited to give up this idea that what I see is a solid objective reality independent of my frame of mind. The way I see the world is always colored. Now, we have a mental health professional here. So, common experience. A child says, oh, when I was young, mommy did this, and I'm so unhappy. I'll never forgive her. I'll never forget that. And mommy comes in, and child says this, and mommy says, it never happened like that. That wasn't what happened at all. Who's telling the truth?
Both.
Hmm?
Both of them are telling it.
Both of them are telling their truth. Yes. Or the one they write plays about, it's so common. Husband, my mommy, she's the most saintly woman in the world. Wife says, oh, mother-in-law, what a horrible creature. Don't they write plays about this for thousands of years? So what's the woman like? Is your boss a jerk? Not to his mother. And if we're really honest, we can do things like this. I can't tell you how many times I've counseled people as they say, oh, I've got this terrible boss. They're so mean, and they're controlling, and they're demanding, and they're abusive. And I said, how many times in your work life have you had this feeling? You've had 5, 10 bosses. Are they all jerks? What's the common denominator in all these relationships? Guess who the jerk might be? I used to jokingly say I've been married for 10 years. Same relationship, just the names and faces change. Same relationship, same issues, same things we fought over, same things that triggered me. Because we create our experience. Now it appears somewhat shared, and it is. You and I are both seeing the couch. Do you like the couch?
Yes.
I don't like it anymore. The cushions are too soft.
Suddenly I changed my perspective also. That's true.
All viewpoint. Now, some philosophical or spiritual schools say if you remove all your judgments, you'll see the world as it is. A rose is a rose is a rose. Vedanta says if you remove all your judgments, you can't see a world. It's like a brand new infant. There's just light, sound, color, taste. It's only when we start to make distinctions, we build sanskaras. You put the mobile above the baby, so its eyes start to focus. So it starts to identify objects. Then they start to have a world. Next verse.
Atha badho ya pramana darshanam chet tada shrunu apramana trishir nasti bhrantanam twadrisham khalu nyata vigneya tattvanam pramana trishi apramana trishi sphuta. And if it is said that refutation is indeed the perception of absence of proof or the recognition of unreality, then listen. There is no perception of absence of proof for perplexed people of your kind. For those who have known the reality that ought to be known, perception of absence of proof is clear. No, on waking from sleep, one knows that what was seen in the dream has no proof and hence is unreal. But such perception does not occur in the dream itself. Similarly, the unreality of waking experience is realized only by the wise who have known the self, not by others.
So we negate the dream by waking up. When I wake up, the dream, poof, I see that it was unreal. How do I wake up from being awake? This is the value of samadhi. To start with, you tune up the mind. One of the things I love is just listen to the traffic. With the mind very quiet. Who hears the traffic? What hears it? You get the sense that there's nobody there. Where did sound or mahi or jingo go? Shrunahu, listen very carefully. The shift between the waker and the dreamer is a gross shift. The alarm goes off, you wake from the dream. The shift between egoism, jiva bhavana, and jnana wisdom, though profound, just a subtle shift. But if you know who you are, the jiva disappears. You begin to perceive the fundamental unreality of the mind itself. Then your world will start to disappear. Seeing, but not real. Next verse.
Tasmadidam drishyajalam swapna drishya samasthiti dirghakalopi cha swapne bhasate nirvisheshatah. Therefore, this collection of objects seen in the world has a state similar to the object seen in a dream. Even a long time appears in a dream without distinction.
So the things I see in the waking state have no more reality than the things I see in the dream state. Or as the Mandukya Karika says, the phenomenal world is quite unreal, and the proof of its unreality is that you can see it. Only the subject is real. All visible, cognizable, noble phenomena, without exception, it's just mind. The play of Chaitanya. All it is. Next verse. Are we getting to the end of the chapter?
We got maybe 10, 12 verses left.
We might finish it. All right.
Tasmad abadhito hyatra kriyakari sthiropi cha swapna bhavastena tulyo jagrat bhavopi sarvashah. Therefore, the object experienced in a dream is unrefuted, causing purposeful action and also stable. The object experienced in the waking state also is entirely similar to that.
So again, the objects of the dream state have purpose, they're stable, they're useful, they have cause and effect, just like the objects of the waking state. Can't seem to find the difference. Next verse.
Yatha jagrati jagritvam grihitam jagare sphutam swapnepi jagaratvam tu grihitam tadvadevahi. As the wakefulness in waking is clearly recognized in the waking state, so also wakefulness is indeed recognized even in a dream. Note, the idea is that one experiences a dream as if it is an experience of the waking state.
Yes. So you're sound asleep then you project the dream, and to the dreamer, she seems wide awake. You have the experience of wakefulness. It's only seen to have been a dream upon awakening. But while you're dreaming, waking state and dream. These are also discussed in a whole different way. It's very beautiful in Yoga Vasishta. There's that very famous section called the Jnana Bhumikas, the 7 stages of knowledge. But before them are the 7 stages of ignorance, which are just as useful to know. Ways in which the layers of how ignorance and projection overcomes the mind. Next verse.
Evam sthite kuto rajan vishesha swapna jagratoh tatswapna nijabandhum stvam nahi shochasi vaikutah. King, when it is so, where is the difference between waking and dreaming? Then why indeed do you not grieve for your relatives of the dream?
Yes. Why don't you weep for the relatives of your dreams? There's a very famous Zen proverb. A king awakened and reflected, I dreamt I was a butterfly. Then he thinks, am I a king who dreamt he was a butterfly? Or am I a butterfly dreaming I'm a king? The ignorant person tries to discern which one's real. But the yogi goes, moo, nothing. Shunyata. Oh. Is the ayahuasca state real? What about ecstasy? Is there more God in the Himalayas? Is Tantra more real than yoga? Muslims are willing to kill the Hindus. The Hindus are willing to kill the Muslims. This is real. This is real. The yogi goes, Shunyata. Only the subject is real. Only the subject is never subject to negation. Everything else, pratibimba, mithya, illusion, pranti, delusion, vaipatya, falseness. Next verse.
kevalam bhavana ke kevalam bhavana matra satyata jagati sthita shunyata bhavanenapi shunyam nishpratidham bhavet. Reality is established in the world entirely on account of mere imagination. By the imagination of emptiness also, it can become empty and without resistance.
So you can imagine the emptiness of everything as well. Whatever idea you have about the world, that's just an idea. This is why, listen very carefully, we say both bondage and liberation occur to the mind. The self is ever free. What is my bondage? I think I'm bound. Meaning I think I'm my body. What is my liberation? I know I'm free. I know I'm Brahman. I know it's all Brahman. Both of those, by the way, are just imaginations. Forget about those and do the dishes. Next verse.
Bhavana hyapramanatva vaidhuryena sthirikrita bhave tadatma bhavena satyam etad mahipate. The imagination which is indeed made firm by the deprivation of the proofless nature or unreal nature of any experience can become the nature of that. That is the object imagined. King, this is true.
I didn't quite understand what you said. Please read it again.
The imagination which is indeed made firm by the deprivation of the proofless nature or unreal nature of any experience can become the nature of that object imagined.
So
King, this is true.
So he's saying if you firmly understand the nothingness, the emptiness of all form, then it starts to reveal that to you. Let's see if I can give a more worldly example. We're back to our snake in the rope. I have the firm imagination that the snake is real. I investigate it, find the rope. Then I have the conviction, oh, it looked like a snake, but that was not real. So I now have the firm imagination that the snake is unreal. Going on.
Nidarshanam tvatra chedam majagat drishtameva te imam shailam parikramya chaihi pashyava samprati. In this matter, this world which has been seen by you is an example. Come, walking around this mountain, let us see it now.
So here, he means the world that you saw inside the mountain has come about in the same way. Mahip, you didn't get the story. The Muniputra, the son of the sage, took him inside the mountain. He had created a whole world in there. Comes out of the mountain and 12 million years has passed, everybody's dead. He's all brokenhearted. So now he's going to go around the mountain. Next verse.
Ityuktva nrupatim haste grihitva parichakrame parikramya ganda shailam rajnya sahasametyatu punah praha mahasenam medhavi muninandana. Having said thus and holding the king in his hand, he walked around the mountain. Having walked around the Ganda mountain along with the king, and arriving, the wise son of the sage told Mahasena again.
So they walked all around the outside of the mountain. Where is that universe that was inside? Inside the mountain. Now let's see what he says.
Rajan drishta esha shailaha pada kavyukti matrakah drishta evasya garbhete loka suvitata sphutah esha jagradutat swapnah satyo mithyatmakopi va. King, this mountain, measuring only 1/4 of a gavyuti, that is 1 mile approximately in circumference, has been seen. Within its interior, a distinctly visible and very large world has surely been seen by you. Was this waking or dreaming, true or of a false nature?
So what you saw inside the mountain, was it real or was it Memorex? Was it imagination or was it real? Let's see what the Muniputra says. Going on.
Shaila loke yadinnaikam tadatra dvadashar buddhaha patsarastva nubhutaste satya satye vivechaya. What was one day in the world of the mountain that was perceived by you as 1200 million years here? Ascertain what is true and untrue.
So which is real, which is not real? If you can see it, it is imagination. That's the point. How many more verses, Ganesh?
4.
Let's finish.
Vivechanam nasya bhave swapnayor bhinnayoriva asmate tat vidhi jagat bhavana matra sarakam. There cannot be an ascertainment of this, that is the truth or falsity of these experiences, as between two different dreams. Therefore, know this world as one whose essence is mere imagination.
Yes. This world, its essence is mere imagination. But think of it like a movie. Doesn't mean you have to be cold-hearted and shut down. Enjoy. Or as Tejo Mayananda says, the foolish person doesn't take life seriously. The intelligent person takes life seriously. But the wise person seriously doesn't take life seriously. All is Maya. All is bliss. Next verse.
Abhavyamanam chaitattu liyeta shanamatrataha tasmat chokam chahinrapa vetya swapna samam jagat. But not being imagined, this would vanish merely in a moment. King, therefore give up your sorrow, considering the world as similar to the world of a dream.
Yes. So by contemplating this truth, that the world is mere imagination, we are able to let go of the sorrow that comes from being identified and attached. Is that the last one? Is there another one?
2 more.
2 more.
Swapna chitra bhiti bhutam swatmanam samvidatmakam darpana pratimam matva samstitosi yatha tatha. Perceiving your own self, which is of the nature of pure consciousness, existing as a screen for the picture of the dream world, and is similar to a mirror reflecting the world as you are established, so do you live.
Oh, there's nothing more to say. Could not be said more clearly. Play your part in the dream. Laugh, weep, work, rest, love. Do all the things you do, knowing none of it touches you. And the last one. I think you're muted.
Okay. Jagrit Chitra Darpanam Chave Hyatmanam Chidatmakam Paramanandita Svanto Pavashigram Mahipate. King, know the self of the nature of pure consciousness, which is the mirror reflecting the picture of the world of the waking state, and quickly become one whose heart is filled with supreme delight.
Yes. So as you give up the world, let your mind revel in the self. In the end, all is Maya, all is bliss. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om Tat Sat. Jai. Thank you, Ganesh. Good job.
Thank you, Jim. Goodbye, everyone.
Good
Thanks, Jim.
night. Zoomies.